Well, hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Great to be with you on another fine day or evening here on the Inspirations for Your Life show. Thanks so much for popping in. If this is your very first time with me, I want to say welcome and I want to say thank you. If you've been here one time before or many times, of course, I want to say thank you, but I do want to say welcome back. I always appreciate people that enjoy the quality of content that I produce and want to keep sharing that and improving the quality of their lives. Guys, if you're thirsty or you're hungry, feel free to go grab yourself or a water. I have one here, and it's got fresh lemon inside. And that's the greatest thing for you. All right. All right, guys. Don't forget to check out believemeachieve.com. By the way, if you have not heard Drain to Driven, yes, released last week. And I'm very excited about that. Helping people overcome burnout is more than just a personal story, it's something we need to be able to live our lives and really enjoy them. Otherwise, the moments just sort of pass away. All right, guys, without any further ado, I'd like to go ahead and kick this show off. This is Inspirations for Your Life. And when direction changes because truth gets revealed, Series 5, Show 18, Episode number 1. That, ladies and gentlemen, is yes, that is a very, very important, and you guessed it, guys. Yes, you know what it is. That is um, our granular topic. Um, Actually, the master topic for the week is that. And the granular topic is when you realize you were limiting your own growth, series 5, show 18, episode number 1. Was getting a little tongue tied there, but that's okay. Again, it's so great to be with everyone here. And so Saturday means we're starting a brand new master topic. This episode of Inspirations for Your Life with myself, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, keynote speaker, graduate student, passionate, lifelong learner. And now, guys, very proud to be a published author, is exploring how transformation begins the moment truth breaks through assumptions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is not about motivation itself. This is about a realization because real change starts when awareness replaces assumption. And what felt stable is suddenly questioned. Most people limit themselves without realizing it's because familiar thinking feels safe even when it's no longer effective. Yeah, that's a very important thing I hope all of us can grow to appreciate and take the moment to really explore and enjoy life. I think that's something that a lot of people miss in life. They rush through everything so quickly, and then they wonder why life is going the way it is. Okay, so let's dive right into the first point. And change starts when assumptions break. Okay, could be good, could be bad. Comfort often hides the truth. Familiar patterns delay. Number 3, awareness. So when we are, for lack of a better term, just doing things like doing the motions, we're not really sure why or how we're doing something. I think that's a very important thing to realize. That's going on, and so these are very important things to know. And I know that you're probably saying to me, John, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but I want to tell you it makes plenty of sense. And the reason it makes sense is that awareness helps us gain a very, very big perspective. Okay. It's never too late to become aware. So again, familiar patterns delay awareness because we're like, oh, it's safe, it's comfortable. But I told you, success doesn't lie where it's comfortable. Number 4, guys, stability can mask limitation. Yeah, when somebody's stable, when something's going perfectly, we don't think there's a reason that we need to change, but actually the opposite is true. When things are going too smoothly, we have to make sure that we're enjoying the moment, that we're not getting hidden. Okay? That's important, guys. That's a very, very important thing to understand. And number 5, guys, what feels normal? Okay. What do I mean by normal? Normal is like the everyday course of reactions. I don't like to say the word normal and saying, well, gee, are you normal? You're not normal. Does it follow the everyday expectation? That's what normal means. And what feels normal may not be optimal, even though you might say, John, well, this is what I'm used to. Yeah, it's what you're comfortable with. Okay. And that's a problem, right? That's a big, big problem. Um, and you're wondering why. And that's a big question. Yep, that's important. And I want to tell you that if we don't understand this, then we have to first start realizing why we're not getting the results that we've expected in life. It's not because we're not smart or anything like that. We're all smart. It's because we become too comfortable in the patterns in which we are now allowing to run our life. So I'm going to say this again. What feels normal, what you're doing every day, which just expected, may not be the optimal way for your life. Number 6, guys, repetition builds invisible structure. Repetition builds invisible structure. So that's key because when we repeat something over and over and over and over again, you know what happens? Well, we just sort of go around this mulberry bush and we wonder why we're not getting a change. Einstein said this a long time ago. You do the same thing over and over again. You don't get different results by doing the same thing over and over again. You just don't, guys. You do not get, you just don't get it. You don't get the results. And the reason you don't get the results is because you're not changing anything, guys. You're not changing anything in your life. And that's a very important thing to actually understand. Okay. Very, very important thing to understand because when we understand this, our life sort of takes a different turn, guys. It takes a different turn. And that different turn is something that a lot of people say, you know what, John, I don't really know why or how that's happening, right? I don't know how or why that is happening. And you might say to me, John, like, how is that even possible? Right? How is that even possible? And I want to ask you really clearly, why is it that we get stuck in these patterns? I think the reason we get so stuck in these patterns is because, well, they're a big challenge. And these challenges are not meant to cause a problem, but yet they do sometimes. And then we're on the side saying, gee, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I get back what I need in my life? How do I get back that? And that might be something that you don't really understand in your life, right? You don't really understand like what that means. And you might be saying to me, John, yeah, this is great. But the question I have for you is it really great? Or is it something that you're just, like I said, going through the motions about? So these are all, very, very important things that a lot of people become, well, they become frustrated with them. That's number one. Number 8, behavior defines direction. Behavior defines direction. So how you behave defines how you're going to be, how you're going to coexist in the world. All right. I think that's a very important one to know, right? Um, maybe you're wondering why something is a certain way, right? But then again, maybe you're saying, John, this doesn't make sense. And the reason it doesn't make sense, I'm going to tell you why it doesn't make sense. It's because you're expecting a different result, but you're not changing anything. You're not changing anything. And that, ladies and gentlemen, can be a very, very big, big problem because you're not changing anything. And that's something that a lot of people say, well, gee, I got to push harder. I got to put more hours in. I've got to push. But really, guys, that's not what the secret is. It's not the secret. So we need to get clear with what these things mean in our life. And when we can get clear, life will change. Life will change. Again, I don't want to tell you it's going to change overnight because it's not going to change overnight. I'm going to tell you that right now. It is not going to change overnight. Okay? I mean, that's just the bottom line, right? It's not going to change overnight. And it won't change overnight. It will change with an awareness, guys. An awareness. Okay? An awareness that means you are going to be better than you expected you could be. Let's jump to number 9. Direction defines the outcomes. You set a direction, you set an address in your GPS, and guess what? You're suddenly going that way. Right. Number 10. Most people never question patterns. They just live them. They just push through them. And they don't understand why these patterns are like that. They don't understand the why. And that why is very interesting, guys. Right? It's an interesting way, but does it mean anything directly? And guess what I got to tell you? No. See, you just keep doing the same pattern. The only thing it means is that you're not going to get any difference. You're not going to get any difference in your life. And I think that's a very, very important thing to realize, or I should say, to understand. You're not going to get what that is in your life. You're just not going to get it. And I don't say that to be harsh or to be mean to anybody. I say that because you have to understand what you're doing. As I said, most people never question the patterns. Number 11, exposure will force new thinking. It will cause you to change how you are by the exposure. But the exposure one time won't do it. Got to get some water here, guys. One exposure won't do it. Won't get you to change. Number 12, guys, old labels stop making sense. They stop making sense. Suddenly. Shouldn't have labels for anything anyway. But what you assigned or what you categorize something is not what it is anymore. Number 13, guys. Identity begins to loosen. Your identity begins to loosen. I think that's a real interesting perspective. Taking us to our next point, number 14. Perspective starts to shift. Perspective starts to shift. That's a big wow moment, guys. Perspective starts to shift. When a perspective shifts, it's like we can't unknow or unlearn this new piece of information. Number 15, guys, beliefs begin to get challenged. When a belief gets challenged, what happens? Some people put up their mental or their physical wall like, no, 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 no. But it's because they are afraid of not being comfortable because it's going to push them. That's a problem. Number 16, guys, mental models lose rigidity. Mental models lose rigidity. That's important. Awareness introduces discomfort. Number 17. Awareness introduces discomfort, and you got to get used to discomfort. Because discomfort is where the success actually starts to lie. You've got to get uncomfortable. You got to practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Let me say that again. You got to practice being uncomfortable. So you got to be practicing being comfortable, getting uncomfortable. Yeah, I know that's a little bit of a tongue tire there. So you got to practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Number 18, guys, discomfort signals growth. Yeah. But the growth doesn't pour in like immediately. It trickles in. It gives us an awareness. It gives us a new insight. Number 20, guys, resistance reveals attachment. Now, I've said this many times before. When we detach from something, okay, it no longer controls, it no longer has an empowerment over us. It no longer has that. And I think that's a very important thing for a lot of people to know. It no longer has that ability. And the reason it doesn't have that ability is because we're not part of it. And by our choice of not being part of something is a huge, huge, huge benefit. A huge benefit. Not a small benefit, guys, a huge benefit. And that huge benefit can make a big difference, but only if we're willing to detach. Now, let me see if I can give you an example. So maybe you're having a challenge with somebody. Could be a friend, acquaintance, what have you. But you feel like that person is dragging you in all the time. You feel like you can't say no to that person. I'm going to tell you why you can't say no to that person. It's because you're too attached to them. Now, I'm not saying physically, I'm saying your mindset being too attached. When you detach, it doesn't have to be a person, it could be things. Let's say you were so into an exercise, right? But you were detached from it, it wouldn't control you. If there's an activity, a person, or a thing, and you detach from it, it no longer has power over you. It no longer has power over you. That's a very interesting thought, but it's truthful. It's truthful. If you want something to have more meaning to you, you can attach to it, but be careful because when you attach, it will control you. So just detach from something and you'll see how much it won't control you anymore. Number 21, guys, growth begins with discomfort. I said this before, but the problem is most people don't want to take the discomfort. Okay? Most people don't want to have the discomfort. Even though the discomfort might be minor, maybe it might be minor. Maybe. But people are afraid. They don't know what that's going to be. They're afraid. So they'd rather hide. They'd rather not do something than risk being uncomfortable. Let me ask you a question. Everything you've done in your life, has everything been comfortable the first time you tried it? No. Maybe you played sports. Was it comfortable the first time? And if you tell me no, I know you're lying. But when something is uncomfortable, we are in the learning stage of it, guys. We're learning it. We're doing our very best, but we're learning it right now. That's a key point. A very, very key point. All right. Let's move on to our next point. Fear. False evidence appearing real protects our old identity. This is why people fight for a change, to not change, I should say. They're afraid of losing who they are, and they don't know what the new idea is going to be. They're afraid they might have to be completely different, and they don't know if they can do that or not. So they'd rather just stay on the side of the grass or the fence that's easy, that's comfortable, that's not bogging people. Number 23, guys, resistance delays transformation. Resistance delays transformation. Resistance delays transformation. So when you resist, what you have persists and you can't grow. You just keep running into more walls day in and day out, all because you don't have an open mind. You don't have an open mind. It's not because you can't have an open mind, it's because you don't. It's because you don't have an open mind. But you could change that. You could allow that resistance to literally fall away. And what you will find is that when you let that resistance drop, you'll be more productive. You'll be using less energy. You'll be more peaceful. You'll enjoy life a lot better. Number 24, guys. Clarity begins replacing confusion. Clarity begins replacing confusion. If we can replace confusion, then we can obviously become more successful. When clarity is the factor of us doing what we want to do, we've got to get clear. I'll give you a quick story. I was in Toastmasters, went pretty much up the chain there. And I remember having to do one of the books. And I remember that I was ahead. But then I remember there was one part that was confusing. So I let it sit for a while. I was talking to one of the leaders and I said, gee, I said, where are you? I said, well, I can't get this one piece done. I said, what's the problem? I don't understand what they want. He said, oh, yeah, I had the same problem. That new book is very confusing. The old book was a lot clearer. I said, oh, explain it to me. I figured out what I had to do. Next week I did it and I was done. We allow confusion to obfuscate what we have to do. It doesn't need to be encrypted. But we make it that way. We make it harder than what it really is. Number 25, guys, hidden patterns become visible. They do. You can try to hide all you want, but that eventually will come to the top. What do they always say with a cup of coffee or tea? The cream will rise to the top. And so will your hidden patterns. They will not stay hidden forever. They won't stay hidden forever. That's truth. Number 26, guys, misinterpretation gets corrected. What did I tell you about the Toastmasters thing? Anything can be corrected if you want to do it. If you don't, it'll just stay a mess. It'll just stay in this endless loop. This reminds me of a thing we learned in programming many years ago called an endless loop. And if we don't have something that checks to make sure that the loop can never end, the loop could run forever and ever 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 and never stop. But we have to put checks in there to make sure that the loop can end. Number 27, guys, awareness replaces judgment. Our awareness replaces judgment. When we're aware of something, we're less likely to judge. We're less likely to judge. Number 28, guys, understanding starts forming. Understanding start forming. And when the understanding starts forming, we as a person change who we are. But I want to tell you, this does not happen overnight. Let me say that again. This does not happen overnight. It doesn't. It doesn't happen overnight. Number 29, guys, new insight changes belief. So when you have a new perception, when you learn something, it'll change your perspective. It'll change your belief. It'll even change the way you do something. But once you know something, you can't go back to unknowing it, right? If you know that a certain food is bad for you, you can't go back and unknow that that food is suddenly good for you. No. Once you learn that secret ingredient, that secret thing that you've been missing, once you learn it, and if it's something you don't like, you can't get rid of it. You can't unlearn it. Number 30, guys, identity begins reconstructing when you finally see clearly. You cannot return to how you saw or heard before, which is what I'm trying to tell you. What you discover, whether it's from yourself or from others, you can't go back and unlearn that fact. See, guys, this is a key moment. That is the time where we have transformation, which starts to begin. Now, not through a brutal force, but through a very subtle awareness that changes our own interpretation. And once our interpretation changes, guess what happens, ladies and gentlemen? Our direction follows. Our direction changes if it's not in that direction. See, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of inspirations for your life. It's not just motivation. It's not hype, okay? But it's clarity that leads to lasting change. Once truth is seen, it cannot be unseen. Or I should say, once truth is learned, it cannot be unlearned. And once, ladies and gentlemen, it cannot be unseen, direction becomes intentional. Intentional life starts with purpose. Intentional life and purpose comes from a clear direction, a knowing. And when we get that, we're able to say, wait a minute, now I understand. Now I see why this didn't work before. I was approaching it in a completely different way, not the way I should have. But then you notice something. This wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. But we make things harder than they actually are because we're creatures of habit. We are afraid to change. It's one of the hardest things to get humans to do is to change. You have to prove to them that there's a reason, ladies and gentlemen, to stay driven. You have to prove to them that there's a reason to get up. You have to prove to them that there's a reason to continue on. Ladies and gentlemen, you can catch more of all this great information and free resources at believemeachieve.com. And I hope that you've learned something to realize that to have a successful life that you'll always want to enjoy and share and do so much with is you've got to make sure every moment is intentional. Have yourself a great one, everyone. I'll catch you real soon. Be well.